after years of technical issues and horrible difficulties.
You know you're kind of my go-to like music critic. That's not me or anybody else on the show, and so this is kind of my like. For a while, I finally, around February, I died down the Greta Van Fleet hatred, the hate pain train.
And now it's back.
And I kind of stumble on it again. I'm like, oh, they keep popping up on the YouTubes, and it's like,
hey, YouTube really fucking wants you to listen to Greta Van Fleet, man.
Yeah.
You gotta submit. You gotta submit to the algorithm.
It's so funny because it's kind of like I hate like there's that kind of like. It's the problem with it's the algorithm problem we have where it's everything is it's things that you don't like. You're like hate watching.
Yeah.
You hate watch
like
stuff.
The stuff tangentially related to your interests.
So like people, So like it's the reason like Trump could still doesn't go away. It's like it's still lingering. It's like
okay, so tell you sent me a few videos from what's the new album? It's the
Battle at Gardens Gate. It's
Battle at Gardens Gate, yeah.
Which is it's the second most pretentious album name since Anthem of the Peaceful Army. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna be real. I haven't listened to much Greta Van Fleet. I just know them as they sound exactly like Led Zeppelin. But I will say I've been listening to this. I like that it's not. They're going further past the Zeppelin. It sounds like he's getting into like
I have my so wave. You can't see it for the viewers at home. I'm like like.
See, I feel like he's getting into some like. I mean, I just mean texturally with the vocals. I mean, he's getting more into like Geddy Lee territory. I think what's this one? This one I've been bumping. Heat Above. Yeah, Heat Above was kind of cool.
It is, but you know what? Sorry, go ahead.
The music video was pretty hilarious though. Like I think like it opens with like a fucking like it opens up with this like fucking like snare drum intro, and it cuts this guy like banging on some fucking timpanis, but it's just like you hear like the snare drums playing and shit.
I don't know all their names. Bass Kizka is essentially like slicked his hair back. They all have these new looks too. Yeah, he's got his hair slicked back, and on some of these other videos, he's like Liberaceing it out.
Yeah.
And it's.
You're talking about like the
John Paul Jones
basement ones where he's on the piano or whatever.
Yeah. They all have this kind of we're doing it live thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if you noticed that.
Well, quote unquote live. I mean, it's just
one of them was a music video that was actually a music video, but or at least a non-performance based one. But for that Heat Above is got this sort of like, for me it's like the melody is kind of nice, but the problem is it would be good in like the hands of another artist.
You think so?
I would like to see someone else make that tune, do it something in a different style. You know what I mean? Like it's I
can see that.
And I don't know. I
want the black metal cover. I want the black metal cover of Heat Above. That's what I want. There's the electric clown metal version.
They have a God, man. They have. I could not stop laughing. Like it was so unintentionally funny. All those videos, and then I started watching like people react to those videos unironically.
Oh yeah.
There's the one I showed you.
The one you sent me of the fucking like boomers,
the boomer rednecks,
fucking that metal show guys, just like fucking.
They're just like
this was the greatest thing I've ever.
I like this one. They've gotten a lot better than the first one. Like yeah.
I think it's valid. I think that they're finally sort of like striking out and like finding a little more of an original sound. I hope they. I haven't listened to this whole fucking album yet. I listened to like maybe the three singles you sent me. And I was like, this is crazy. I'm gonna buy the whole album. So. You're doing the algorithm's dirty work.
I've explained, and this is mostly I'm doing this now. I'm fashionably 1 month late to this release party, and and mainly because I didn't care. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it came and went, and I wasn't paying attention, and it just went. But it just so happened today, and because we need to keep these beef sessions going every other week, and I'm just like need to have something to talk about. This kind of came up, and it really it's not one of those. It's a strange. There's some strange things going on with this group. Okay. Not like conspiratorial strange, but just like Ghostbusters 2016 strange, where you're not allowed to hate this band. Yeah. You're not allowed to like. You're gonna be called some sort of hater, and like and not necessarily not hip with the times, but sort of like I mean, like I asked this a couple of questions about some other previous guests, and they were really, really nice about it. And maybe they actually do like it. I can't stand this because I really feel like I'm in the. If you're gonna ask me if rock is dead, I'm like, yeah, it's done. We had.
I totally agree. Yeah,
it's we had a nice. There was a nice run there, and I'm not like mourning the death. It's just like there's so many different interesting things you can pick and choose, and to go back into a point in time where it was not. Yeah. And it's not even like a wokeness thing. It's just like it's a creative thing.
Yeah. You're fighting the problem here, Steve, is that you're fighting the simulacra. Like we're living in the era of like hyper reality now, man. Like everything, like it's not like it's like the popular shit now is the stuff that's we're producing like the Disneyland of rock and roll, where we're sort of Disneyland in like the Baudrillardian sense of like it's fucking just music that's like referring to like our idea of music and like that, not the actual music itself. I think I said this in one of the last couple of podcasts, but I think it's weird. Like that's kind of like the new that's pop culture now is like hyper modernity. We have I mean what's popular right now? It's like Stranger Things, a throwback to the 80s. We've got like. We got like Game of Thrones, just sort of like throwback to like pulpy, pulpy like 30s like Conan sci-fi or Conan fantasy sci-fi kind of stuff, and well, I mean, I guess that was kind of an 80s thing too, like the sort of like heavy metal. Super violent fantasy stuff. That's
you talking about Deathstalker parts 1 and 2?
Yeah, and 3 and 4.
And 3 and 4.
There's a lot of Deathstalker, man. Dude, you know what? We were talking last week about like remaking shit that's like bad. Yeah. They should remake. I'm like, they should just take Deathstalker because like whatever the fuck they do to Deathstalker, it's gonna be awesome. Like it's gonna be better than whatever the fuck they were doing with the original Deathstalkers. But yeah, I think that's it's weird that we're sort of in it's weird that we're sort of in this phase of pop culture right now. It's like, what do we do? It's like what's the next step after this? It's like, do we take
no.
I know you're sort of like forward thinking here, and it's like where do we go dialectically from like hyper modernity? Like it's such like that's already such like a strange concept anyway.
Well, I was having this conversation with Kentucky, aka the Denim Emperor, and he was we were hanging out last night. We were discussing like it ranged from like industry plants. Mm-hmm. Like they were talking about I forgot what the band was called. But it was like some TikTok band that was like with the Tramp Stamps.
Oh yeah. I've just been like hearing, dude. I don't know. I have no fucking idea who they are. I just like see their name just like flare up in like news feeds. I'm just like, I guess the Tramp Stamps are in the news again. I haven't heard a single note of what they do. Please fill me in. Tell me about the Tramp Stamps.
Okay, well apparently they're actually a collection of like writers and publishers that got together, but their marketing gimmick was like really, really hackneyed, and they went in like this like. They decided to go in this awkward post-punk. They're the Greta Van Fleet of the post-punk.
Okay.
and so it's like, it's just sort of like really cringe like being a girl lyrics, like, like I don't know. I can't. I could bring it up about the lyrics themselves are very like it's sort of about like the like it's like about sleeping around, but in a weird, like awkward way. Like there's ways to do
like
that.
It's like you're a hoe, but you're embarrassed about it.
No, it's sort of like they're sort of stamping on male fragility or something like that. It's sort of they're essentially twisting or diverting the expectations of the female, or taking the male and like male concepts in I don't know. I'm not explaining it very well. Okay. It's just not very good. It's just like whatever. It's like, so I mean, to kind of bring it back, I just kind of wonder.
Now I'm afraid to listen to them because I'm afraid I'm going to like them too.
Well, I know you have a more of a hair metal.
I'm already biased because I love hair metal, which is like already just like the most sort of like insane and like bloated and self-indulgent of like the musical art forms. So,
but you know what? There's a level of that where I could look on that now and I could say, well, at least they're having fun. Yeah. And they are not serious at all.
Yeah, true.
And like, it's very playful. I can at least say those things. Like the music drove me kind of crazy and is like not, it's sort of, silly, but it wasn't like, some sort of early mid 70s high, we're making high art here with our rock music. And I'm not even talking about like or like we're not making what do you call it? What's that Baroque era, Baroque rock, or the Queen, whatever, like that kind of Led Zeppelin, Queen stuff, where stadium Baroque style kind of like. I'm using there's Baroque pop in the '60s, so I can't. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally.
But I feel like okay. I'm gonna do a couple things because I kind of like sort of skimmed over some points here. But
go for it.
What Kentucky was basically saying was, why isn't anybody having any fun in these music videos?
Yeah, true.
Like,
yeah. Like make it
sake.
stupider. We need. I think we need to bring the cheese back. Like maybe that's the. Maybe that's the direction to go from here. Are you Steve? Are you familiar with the concept of pataphysics?
No.
I'm gonna go into a weird direction here.
Okay.
So pataphysics is sort of this like proto-surrealist art movement started by this guy named Alfred Jarry, or Jarry is probably how you pronounce it. He's French. He's a French dude. It's kind of like it's sort of like the ethos of dicking around, but like taking your joking and dicking around like seriously, which which is so some of the examples, like, because I was like reading I was reading this book, Pataphysics, a Useless Guide, and it kind of like talks about like the sort of history and like the like different like artists that could be considered sort of pataphysical, and the idea like something like because the founder, one of his definitions of it was like the science of exceptions or something like that, and the idea being that like pataphysics is about like sort of like writing and making art that's like sort of intentionally sort of intentionally like super contrarian and really like poking ribs, poking your ribs and pouring salt into wounds and kind of kind of having this sort of like mad jester kind of feel.
Is this kind of like is this like a Paul Verhoeven style?
Yeah, way? No, okay. Yeah, I think like Paul Verhoeven kind of gets there.
Yeah,
where the idea is it's like, yeah, you're fucking to quote Macho Man Randy Savage, I may be kidding, but I ain't joking. So that's like or like Frank Zappa. Like the book actually names Frank Zappa as someone who's sort of like pataphysically inspired, where it's like, yeah, he's fucking around, but it's like he's not like he's not joking musically, but it's like he's joking thematically.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like really complicated. Basically Alfred Jarry's books, he wrote Dr. Faustral and Ubu Ra is his other one, which is like Ubu Ra is just about this like fat, ugly, just like monster dude who just loves like beating the shit out of people and like stealing their money and stuff. And it's about him like trying to become like king of the planet, so he can just like kill everyone and steal everyone's money.
Oh my god, that's good.
So it's kind of a, it's kind of just like it's like prodding at all of our ideas of society and the way that like society is structured. And where it's like, oh yeah, it's like what's the point of power? It's like, well, it's like everyone, it's just like violence and fucking money, so it's kind of it's about taking these like sort of antinomian approaches to culture. And maybe since we're in this like weird like nostalgia centered like hyper reality of culture where everything has to be like referring to these kind of like Disneyfied versions of what we think the 70s and 80s are like. Maybe the next step is something pataphysical, and it's like trying to be like, oh yeah, like the 80s sucked. It's like we need more songs about like people like fucking ODing on cocaine and fucking like dying of AIDS and yeah, so where's our crack epidemic music, So that's a long way of saying is like maybe we could approach it from I
like that.
Like including like the humor, humor from the from like a devil's advocate sort of perspective.
That's something I've always kind of enjoyed in terms of stuff that I like and stuff that we make, the records we make. And I know that's something Kentucky was talking about, that humor is very, very important. And it's also just like, because it sort of serves the idea, like, like Space Cop. I'm going to use Space Cop as an example. Space Cop.
Yeah.
They know it's a cheaply made, not very good movie, and they know it. And but it's not that they're also not trying, because it's not like a asylum piece of shit where it's like, we're intentionally making bad movies. It's like, no, but we also love B movies, so we can kind of blend this thing where it kind of works, and it's like, oh, okay, you take like the B movie, you take the B movie aesthetic, and it's just like you write like a really solid like comedy script, but you keep like the B movie aesthetic. Like that's sort of like that's another sort of like pataphysical thing. Like there's a group, it's like a literary group, it's called like Olipo. It's like a contraction of like some French phrase, but it's basically like a group of artists that are like super into like writing stuff with like really strict rules and stuff, and sort of like forcing artistic progress through like really strict disciplinary like regulations on like how you produce your art. It's like there's like this dude who like wrote this book without using the letter E. Like that was his like sort of challenge to him. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna write like a 300-page book. I'm not gonna use the fucking letter E once. and so you end up with this like really weird, like, sort of putting yourself through the ringer like that, sort of like, can sort of like force your it can sort of like force your art to do like a oh yeah, I'm digging this.
You can sort of like force your art into different things like that. So
for me, where I was going. That feels like that's the opposite of punk music, or the initial elements of punk music, where I felt like the style and the culture had a sense of humor, but the music was like angry or whatever, and it wasn't exactly like, it was like not very good.
Where I was going with that was,
okay.
it's like they give themselves, it's like they have the limitations of like, it's like Red Letter Media is aware of having the limitations of like a B movie, and being like, okay, well, we're only going to be able to make something that looks like a B movie, but we'll write this like solid comedy script with the,
and they
with the limitations of the B movie.
They did enough stuff to make that movie look decent. I'm not really like, I give them props for doing the best they could with some of that stuff. Like they're totally aware of, and that's what I really appreciate. Like our new friends with Planets. When they made the Triangle, we sort of were watching. I don't know if we started watching it.
Yeah, we started watching. I
started watching it
because that movie's fucking lit.
Yeah,
the first half of that was awesome. It was so good.
And that was a movie that was made within their means and was taken seriously, and it was not like, we can only get away with this. The kills are like, they're not overshooting their budget.
It's not like a Lycan Colony situation where it's sort of like. I don't know where it's just sort of like splattered where it's like no man, it's gonna look fine, like it's gonna look fine.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We'll figure out we'll figure out a way to make it look fine.
That movie in post. Oh my god.
Holy shit. I see that movie in my nightmares. That movie plays how like dreams feel. not like a good way, like in there's like one of those dreams where it's like really like scary when you're in them, and then you're like describing it to someone. It's like it's like, wow, this is actually hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna look into that. The pataphysical. I'm fascinated by that. Now that there's like someone obviously that's been like boiled down a little bit better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm probably I'm not exactly a historian of this movement, so I'm sure I'm gonna get all the
hit us
all
up.
The angry pataphysicians out there, and like the French College of Pataphysics are gonna be writing us angry letters.
Yeah.
Although maybe writing an angry letter to like a podcast with like 3 audience members is itself like a pataphysical exercise.
It might be, and props to you.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, send us your angry letters.
Yeah.
Correct me on the history of Alfred Jarry. And
we'll offer you a job in our marketing department.
Yeah, fucking A. Yeah, we need some like really we need some like really weird like public like performance art ethos. Like that's what we need. We need flash mobs. We need
I mean part of that was that we were doing, and that's another thing Kentucky and I were talking about, was like the Punish Steve semi-persona, like these alter egos, but they're sort of like blurred. There's blurred divisions.
Yeah.
So there's like Punish Steve, but there's also like there's me and there's Punish Steve the character.
Yeah.
Which is not really a character. It's just me in a hypercharged version of myself where I create myths and legends based on things that I say, which are mostly true. I don't usually lie to people on what I do, and sometimes I say too much. But things like, basically Dr. Fun would be Ryan, hypercharged. It would be Denim Emperor's Kentucky hypercharged. So we were talking about yesterday, and that's kind of something that we want to kind of like part and parcel. Kind of the motivation. We'll have to find that. Right now, all I have is a dude named Sean or Dr. Cum or whatever.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
Yo, here we go.
Out.
Here's our first. Here's our first idea for. Here's our first idea for fucking for like pushing the Space Beef Band is fucking the Cum Festival, right? So we got Dr. Cum's Festival of Cum. And it's just like you go there, and it's just dudes, just big fucking buckets of cum, just like wearing like white jumpsuits, like white tracksuits, and they're running around just like splashing cum on everybody. And they're like, what the fuck? And then it's like every once in a while, when you get a cum thrown in your face, they just take like a copy of the album and just like push it into your hand, just fucking run off. And the cum festival is not. The Cum Festival is mandatory. Like wherever it happens, like you have to participate. Like you can't escape. Yeah, we're workshopping it. We'll work it.
We'll figure it out.
The details.
Back to complaining about Greta Van Fleet, and these are the biggest goobers on the planet.
It's interesting because I feel like he's actually going for a more of like a Freddie Mercury vibe now than especially with all the music videos for Battle at, oh my god, I have to look it up.
Battle at Garden's
Edge. Garden's Gate. Battle at Garden's Gate.
Yeah. I don't really care for the like I don't really give a shit about the like, oh, we're like a peace band. And this is our peace anthem. Yeah, and we're singing to save soldiers' lives. That's like the theme of. You know what that is? That's your Halloween. That's
Sorry,
like
go ahead.
It's your Halloween store 70s hippie costume.
No, it kind of is though,
like,
isn't it? Yeah,
like
yeah.
you go to like the stereotype, take your stereotypes and platitudes of the 70s rock scene, which most of the time, by the point you got in the 70s rock, wasn't a lot about peace. It's mostly about making money, drinking hard, going hard. And it was like, it was very like, I always
it was like 60s burnout. It was like hippie burnout.
Yeah.
That was the vibe of like
I wrote about
all
this
that, like
in my first Greta Van Fleet article, and it was sort of a, you know, they're harkening back to a time where it was about sort of, if you really want to take a look at the 70s music scene, it was mostly about a lot of it in the rock world had a disillusionment with things. It was a separation. It was almost like, also it was the first time people, like bands, were kind of making money on a large level because the album was selling so much, right?
Yeah.
So like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd get the, like, their own personal jet planes with their printing on it. They have the you know, a lot of the bands that tried to create their own labels and have a stake in their business early on in the 60s, the Beatles, the Who, even the Stones at one point, they really struggled a little bit with the business end of things. So it was really hard for them to, by the time like Led Zeppelin showed up, they kind of learned from the mistakes of that. So they were raking it in. And anyway, it's a lot of like when I refer to the psychedelic scene and why psychedelic revival is not as obnoxious to me. In fact, I actually really like it. Yeah, it's because it never really went.
Name of your band.
Yeah. One, it never really went out of style. One.
Yeah, true.
And two,
I mean, drugs are here to stay forever.
Yeah.
The real reason that psychedelic stuff is coming back is because like we're kind of coming to the tail end of psychedelic prohibition. True. You know, like we're kind of like all the people who were like most benefiting from from keeping drug users like locked up and in prison, like all those politicians are like dead now. Yeah. So so that whole wave of like social engineering is basically like dying out. And I think you can, now I think it's more about internet information wars. I think it's moving in instead of like a sort of like physical mind control space, it's moving more into like the digital mind control space. Yeah. Okay. They don't have to exercise like hard power as much anymore to like fuck with like a voting group. It's like they have to, it's more of a we're moving into a weird like digital panopticon of like, it's like we're just like flooded with like just shit like all the time. It's just like politicians just flooding the media with like whatever. Yeah. It's just like it's hard to get away from. It's like, I mean, that's always been around. Like propaganda has always been a thing, but it's like the sort of tendrils of the digital universe and the media universe are basically continuing to sort of encroach on like individual space. The famous fried egg in a skillet is becoming very, very trivialized for sure. It's like they don't need to use the it's like they don't need to be like, oh, we got to keep the drugs out of everybody. It's like, well, it's like the ideas that they want the most to proliferate are already inside all of us because we're already we're already in the technosphere 24/7. Like our phones are always glued to us. So it's like, right. I think that the necessity of keeping psychedelics legalized or illegalized, criminalized is sort of slowly dissipating here. Yes. I mean, it's being replaced by weirder shit, but I definitely think, it's on the comeback. I mean, mushrooms are just about to be legal. Like once mushrooms are legal, it's like there's basically like no reason to keep like LSD illegal, So and I really do. And I think within our lifetime, we're going to be able to go to. We're gonna have like LSD shops that we can just like cruise through. Well, not to completely go on the entire drug side what do you call it, tangent here, but I do. One of the problems I feel, not that I actually have not taken any psychedelics, famously. Oh, dude, you'll love acid. It's awesome. It makes everything vaporwave colored and music sounds better. But one of the few things I've really been kind of hesitant on,
even considering it at this point is mainly because the acid is not nearly. It's sort of. I feel like there's like there's like the crystal meth that's in a cooler and a crystal meth that Bryan Cranston makes.
Yeah.
And so like, and I feel there's like similar rules with LSD, and I could be wrong, but I feel like there's
Owsley's, a bottle or like a paper.
No. There's like Owsley's factory brand that were being made in laboratories and universities, and then there's like not that.
Yeah, there's like you got. I mean, with all street shit now, you just got to make sure you're not just like eating a bunch of fucking like fentanyl and like
I've
drain
heard
cleaner and stuff. So
I
totally
boomers,
understand
like the one boomers have a point where they say the acid is not nearly as good as it used to be, and I'm like, I kind of believe.
No, I totally believe that, because I mean, like now, a lot of what you get hold of is like research chemicals, where it's like stuff that it's not quite the chemical compound of LSD. It's like something like kind of close that like still like I'm not a scientist, man. Like I'm not, but it's like a chemical compound that's like kind of close that like kind of does the same thing. Probably because it's like easier to make. Also, if you just want to make your own, you can pick up a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook, and like they just tell you how to make all that shit. Like it's all over. Just get one on.
I actually I have the Timothy Leary book, The Dead, too.
Oh, fuck yeah.
That's actually
did you get his one about growing mushrooms?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's a pretty cool one too. Like that's literally just like a step by step.
I don't like regular mushrooms all that much, and that over umami-ness of it. So I'm like, I can give or take on that stuff. But anyway, I don't know, not to like strike the tangent dead here, but I'm trying to figure out going back to stereotypes of the 70s, peaceful, whatever. You know, like that sort of like, because I know the Zeppelin guys were like, they had hippie elements, like Robert Plant's lyrics. Like if you take the going to California, like that whole Led Zeppelin 4 had a lot of different. It had contrasting lyrics and scenes, and I'm not a lyric guy when it comes to rock music. I really don't give a shit about lyrics all that much. I really don't. And so it's like, this is a chance to say something, to be something. I'm like, if it sounds cool, it's all right, but it's like I really like, it's not that. I don't find it that important because you're in a rock band, dude. Like,
yeah.
if you're a singer songwriter, or if you're a songwriter and you're doing country songs, or you're doing Americana tunes, or if you're just sitting there and it's only like you and a guitar,
stuff where the lyrics matter more than
yeah,
where it matters more than the sort of coloring of the final product.
Yeah. But if you're in like, you know, like if you're in Cream, you think Cream really gives a? They had Pete Brown do the lyrics.
Yeah,
it was a framework to jam on. It's like, okay, really don't give a shit. Like, and so I know the lyrics. Josh's lyrics have been. Maybe he shouldn't write them. They should do the Rush thing, and maybe the drummer dude should probably write them.
Yeah.
Because the lyrics are really. I mean, that's always been the big, like, they're good, but the lyrics they're good, but the this, and that's been like a lot of like people who give them like the average rating and not the Pitchfork rating. Pitchfork, by the way, did not. I don't even think they gave them the time of day this time.
Oh shit!
I looked it down and I couldn't find a review of the second album. Fantano did.
Was Pitchfork the one we read the one that was just like the most savage roast of any band I've ever heard?
The guy who wrote that should have won a Pulitzer Prize, man.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, that was like, dude, he like literally gave them the like shit sandwich like Spinal Tap review. It was like the fucking funniest thing I've ever read. I don't think they deserved it that much, but like, holy shit! Just fucking like off like that. Damn.
I think it depends, because I've listened to the tunes. I haven't listened to all the tunes, so don't say like, oh, I don't need to at this point. I'm really okay if it's like, well, this song is really good. I'm checked it out. Like someone that goes, they go into a more progressive, air quotes, progressive direction, and like, that's not okay. Like, you added, congratulations, you added strings and a build up.
Like,
you know, like
music, like they're like, oh my god, it's prog rock. There's strings in it. It's like, nah, like
yeah, it's. I mean, that I don't know if you saw the video where like it's. I forgot what the song was, but the guy's playing.
I think the word they're looking for is like overproduced.
It's
like,
yeah.
Like, you know, like they're looking for, like, the word they're looking for is just like full of fucking like the band is basically not present here, and it's just a bunch of like orchestral overdubs and just like studio shit.
I actually do think Spinal Tap songs are actually better written songs than the ones these guys are playing.
I mean, to be fair,
this band might be funnier.
Bunch of the Spinal Tap songs after only hearing them like one time. So I remember fucking Sex Farm. It's like, who listens to Sex Farm?
Plowing through your bean field, poking your hay,
walking on a sex farm. Dude, that song's awesome.
Rock and roll creation.
There's an impact to that. There is sort of like a
heavy duty rock and roll.
Yeah,
like it feels like that, man. Like if you look at and the outfits, the things, and I feel like. It's so strange because I feel like
I do actually
get off
miss
my lawn. Sorry,
I miss the era of like rock stars just dressing like fucking like figure skaters and drag queens because I love that shit. I think it's awesome. But like I know what you mean because like this is another thing of just like yes, it's like referencing like. You know, it's like, is this actually like part of like
I feel like it's a joke,
an emerging cultural movement, or is it like, are we just copying something that somebody else did?
I don't know, man, because I feel like it's I laughed as if it was a Neil Breen comedy. Not comedy, but you know what I mean. The comedy coming from the delusionality of what these guys are saying, like.
Yeah,
like,
it
doesn't
have like the depth for like the I feel like the music itself, like the song and like the lyrics like really does not have like the depth of for like necessitating like the these sort of like insane like elaborate costumes and shit.
Nirvana did the unplugged thing. They had the extra cello, they had the candle lights, they had the aura, the vibe. But I took Kurt Cobain seriously.
Or
I don't when I watch that I take Kurt Cobain seriously, and
don't worry, just wait 20 more years, and then the 90s will hit hyper reality, and then we'll have Greta Van Fleet's for Nirvana like dressing up and like just aggressively dressing in flannels and like flannel t-shirts and shit, just like three. It
won't be Greta Van Fleet, but Greta Van Fleet will be questioning why they're doing it.
Whatever
band chooses to do the grunge thing. I mean, like, because there's a thing where I kind of have this Dave Grohl fascination as well, where things are kind of painfully generic, to quote Eric. But I agree with it. Or not Dave Grohl, but the Foo Fighters rather have that kind of like. I mean, maybe I'm so in a postmodern mindset where I can't take rock and roll seriously anymore because everybody's trying to like hold on to it to dear life of what that actually means. Like, so when we had like rock music in the 60s, right, which was mostly coming from England as far as the aggressive rock stuff, you had folk rock in LA and you had like, noodling psychedelic stuff or, in San Francisco, whatever. But you really had anything that was kind of hard or blues oriented coming from England, and they had their attitude towards things was very much, I don't even know what it was. But I feel like an old guy trying to say it's not cool, but like because I like the stuff from that era, but I don't like this because it's not appropriate.
It's like a weird. It does have like a hollow like insincerity to it.
I feel like it's a cash grab. I feel like, and this is where I go into the 2016 Ghostbusters mode of like cynicism, because like I think I'm trying to figure out where the internet lands on this, because for the most part I don't hear a lot of negative stuff about them. The only negative reviews I hear is Fantano and that Pitchfork record. And a couple like it's good, but like you read the reviews, right? The reviews aren't the critics are not giving them not even the benefit of the doubt, but they're not really giving them, especially with the new one, because the new one they if you said they progressed, it's like they took a baby step. They went from 1974 to 1975.
Like they haven't hit moving pictures yet. It's like when Rush went from like Caress of Steel to Was it Hemisphere? Did they do Hemispheres after Caress of Steel, or was that Farewell to Kings?
No. They did Hemispheres, I think, after 2112.
After Farewell to Kings, right? So this is like a
Farewell to Kings was they did moving pictures after Farewell to Kings.
Yeah.
Which is the only Rush song. Has the only Rush song I like on there. That's
no, what the
Spirit
fuck
of the Radio.
was the one after? Hold on.
I don't know my Rush, man.
Kids.
I don't really like Rush either. So like, you know, but I like Spirit of the Radio.
Well, it's interesting because they kind of have like Rush actually kind of has like a similar trajectory to Greta Van Fleet, where it's like, you know, the first Rush album is fucking, you know, Working Man. It's like that's a fucking Led Zeppelin single, man.
That
like,
album, I bought that album. I remember buying that record, that CD, because like Rush was at a certain high point. I think they were either in.
No, I'm sorry. 2112 was right after Caress of Steel.
Yeah. Because that was
Farewell to Kings was after. So I would say it's like 2112 to like Farewell to Kings. Well, no, more like
it's one of the few times
like
where
2112, where it's like I wouldn't exactly call 2112 prog, but you know they're pushing that direction. You know, then it's like Farewell.
I would also call
we start getting like fucking synthesizers and you know sort of like a more we start getting that more like weird science fiction-y.
Speaking of pretentious lyrics and
yeah. Right, yeah. The Rush is actually not a bad example.
yeah, it's not bad, and they also kind of had the second wave prog stuff that I mentioned to you earlier, where I'm like, I really like progressive rock.
Yeah.
But in the 50 years it's existed, I only really like the 5. I really don't care for the other 45 years of its existence. I could just do without. And mainly because
to me might be like the swan song of like the whole progressive rock movement.
I could see that.
That's like what, like 78, something like that.
What was that song?
Yeah, 78. So I feel like that's kind of you know, and then like, you know, I don't really consider Moving Pictures like a prog rock album. It's like
no,
you know, it's hard rock for sure.
It's
but
also
like,
it's also if you take the style, like they're still in Led Zeppelin mode. If that's the case, you look at the sonic styles of the drums. And the piano and the guitar, and like one of the songs has a Black Dog kind of like time change in it.
Like, you know, like Tom Sawyer, we kind of got, so we, you know,
the drummer's not good. Drummer's not.
The complex time signature does not prog make.
Yes. That's what Gregory Corso said about the Beat Generation. He was like, 3 people does not a generation make. But they called us that. And I wasn't even in it. Yeah. He was with them. He was part of it, but he wasn't really like the 3 guys. He wasn't part of the Holy Trinity of that.
Yeah.
But, God, yeah. Speaking, I keep like teasing this, but basically, like I said, it's this extremely like. It feels like there's this sort of animosity, or not animosity, but there's this group of people. They would make it seem that there's a lot of overwhelming popular support for the group, and for all intents and purposes, I actually wouldn't disbelieve. I wouldn't doubt that, just because I don't have like I think I'm not gonna say I'm like exceptional, but I don't necessarily have normie brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think I'm above anybody, but I also don't like have this rational like music. I just want to have a good time and drink a beer and listen to hard rock. Like, I mean, there's a time and a place for that, and it's called college, I guess. But but like, I don't know if you know this, but the 2016 Ghostbusters, there's that famous Red Letter Media clip where they broke down the Sony editing comments.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So you think so you think there's been like a push, like some kind of like
I do, because I have not
sort
seen
of like a social engineering marketing push.
You know how because YouTube is famously negative reviews.
I totally believe it. I would totally believe that.
And of course,
I mean,
Sony reversed Sony did it the opposite, where they wanted you to have they want the narrative of everybody hates this movie.
Yeah,
for some reason.
I mean, there's you know, when your movie has like notoriety, you know, there is truth to, you know, saying that there's no such thing as bad publicity. So it's like, you know, you can take it either way. Yeah. You can make an album and you can be like, because remember when Wet Ass Pussy came out and like everyone was like, all over the place. It was like, this is the most fucked song we've ever heard. It's so fucking bad. And like and then you listen to it and it's like, this is like every hip hop R&B song from like the last 20 years, man. Like It's not even that. It's like I like Megan Thee Stallion's like other stuff like better. Like Savage, like that is so much. That's like so much better than Wet Ass Pussy.
Sure.
But yeah, but I mean, like I feel like that one also had like kind of a you know, you dare people to listen to it. It's like Exorcist marketing. You know, where you go, this is the most fucked movie of all time. You're gonna pass out and shit your pants watching this movie. So you know, you dare someone to go see it.
Right.
Yeah, I think you can. I totally think you can kind of, you know, you can kind of push a. You can definitely push a narrative both ways.
They're not doing that on this though. They're doing the opposite, where they're saying they're editing out all the negative comments. I have not seen one negative comment on any of their videos. Someone's being paid to go.
They could just be fucking. Yeah, I mean, it's entirely possible. It's just fucking. You know, they're editing the narrative be like, this is the greatest album of the summer, and if you don't believe us, go fucking buy it on iTunes and listen to it.
I basically and to prove my point that they're being removed, I actually made a comment on one of the videos.
Oh shit!
Saying, is this a joke? And asked a question mark because it could be interpreted as, is this a joke or like what? Is this supposed to be? Are they being funny? They're not acting funny. They're acting dead serious, like jolting around in Liberace costumes. I swear, one of them had one of those like Steve Howe like double necked acoustic like. Folk
things.
They
had some kind of crazy like
what are you doing? Like
I don't even know what the fuck you call it, but yeah, they have like
why?
It was in like their like unplugged fucking
the Candlelight one. It was forgot which one it was.
Fucking Broken Bells, was that the one?
Yeah,
I think it was
Broken Bells, it's Light My Love.
Yeah, it was one of those because they both had like a live set. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, he's like playing this like crazy like. It looks like the guy's got like a fucking like zither like glued to his guitar.
Why?
I mean, you know, it's part of the aesthetic. They're like going for their, you know, I think you nailed it when you said, you know, you know, you were talking about like Queen sort of like Baroque stadium rock. I'm like, I think I legit think their manager is going like, yo, Queen is hot right now. Cause I mean, the Bohemian Rhapsody movie came out like a couple years ago.
Around the same time they did. Yeah. 2018.
Yeah, so that's like I think Freddie Mercury is kind of hot right now, so I think they're kind of, I think it might be a directed decision to sort of push that angle, because I think, you know, 50% of pop stardom is like image and like public relations shit, you know.
Yeah.
So there's like weird, you know, there's sort of like weird black magic behind the scenes. This is the this is the real black magic that all the satanic panic fuckers are you know, are so worried about. The real black magic here is all of the media manipulation and public image editing and things like that. Like that's the like, I mean, you know, these stars kind of become these polymorphous these polymorphous like identityless, like can be molded into any shape to like fit the PMR, fit the style. That's why I hate fucking Bon Jovi. Like, talk about a band with like no substance. It's like they're just like it's like, oh, we made a great hair metal album. I won't say great, popular hair metal album. And it's like, oh, what's that? Grunge killed us. Fuck it, we're a 90s rock band now. And it's like it's real obvious, you know. It's like you know, these artists, there's always kind of this like push and pull of like, you know, it's like what's hot right now, and then you know everything will kind of like
sort of like Metallica's Black Album, where they're just like, okay, like the 90s are here, let's get dark and broody, like in a personal way, not like they were always kind of dark, but they were never like the subject material was always dark, but they weren't singing like the slow burn, nothing else matters and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's clearly
but I think. Oh, so did your comment end up getting deleted? Did you notice anything?
I just sent it now. This before we started the pod.
Okay, so let's investigate. Live investigation. Is it still there?
Yeah, this is John Oliver style, where we're gonna invent our own church and get, you know, tax donate, get like get ourselves a tax exempt.
Yeah, get your fucking. Yeah, man, fucking pull that up, Jamie. Let's see if it's still there. Because I mean, this shit, like it happens obviously like a lot. It's like I think people forget that the kind of people who like run there's a lot of like weird like behind the scenes string tugging. I don't really mean that. I don't mean that in like a sinister way. Like I mean, like that's just how it is. It's not like a
yeah. Like everything is in a floral. There's that picture. They did a photo shoot where they're all holding like these sort of like rustic flowers and stuff. And
oh yeah,
like
and it's like I kind of get what they're going for. They're going for that. They're not. Are they Americans or are they English?
They're from Michigan.
Where are they from? They're from Michigan. Yeah. So I feel like they're going for that kind of like. They're going for that kind of like English pastoral, like keep off the grass sort of feeling.
Selling
like,
England by the pound.
Yeah. Like, they're going for like Led Zeppelin and like sitting in a castle in the countryside recording fucking When the Levee Breaks or whatever.
I mean, if they say we're going to Headley Grange to do the next one to further explore what the band can do and progress, I'm like, okay, guys, come on. Like,
yeah. No, yeah. That's kind of. I feel like that's what they're pushing for. So there is this kind of like, So it's like they are kind of aping like a early '70s like English rock kind of thing. It's very, very bizarre. Like it'd be cool.
There's
if,
a Joe Cocker vibe to that guy too.
Cool if they would like. Just like incorporate fucking like American pastoralism into it, or like try to do something like more authentic. Be like, yeah, man, we went to Kansas to record this fucking album, dude. Like we recorded it in like a barn. We went to Smallville.
Went to Muscle Shoals. What they did, they went to Muscle Shoals.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
It's weird, but I mean, like, yeah, it's like a product. I mean, this. Music PR is about like producing. It's producing products and it's about, creating images and words that can sell. Okay. The other thing I'll say, and I have a couple theories. Okay.
And they may have already been pre-explained and I'm just like latching, or I'm just like saying it in a different way. And, like Pataphysical, like probably, was saying something similar, like I probably was saying something similar to that I've been enjoying, but there was a label for it, 100 years ago. So
yeah.
And one of them is, musical nonlinearity, which is one of my big ones. And like, which makes these guys like the first band to never, ever actually have to exist.
Yeah.
Like they're not needed.
Yeah, true.
Like, frankly, and the only response I always get, well, what about the live stuff? I'm like, what about it? Like, you want to go see a live rock show?
Yeah, that's like the Bruce Springsteen argument of like, I tell people I don't like Bruce Springsteen. They're like, nah, man, you got to listen to this 4-hour long fucking concert of all these songs you hate, but live. Man.
I would even argue that you could like the Grateful Dead and not like their live shows.
Yeah, true.
Or you could like the live shows and not like their studio work. There's
you didn't even listen. The other thing with the Grateful Dead is you didn't even listen. They have like jammy studio stuff that you can listen to that's completely different from their like singles.
Yeah,
so you don't even have to listen to their live stuff. Anyway,
right, exactly. And the other one is basically, oh shit, what was it? Fuck. Okay. God damn it. I don't like editing stuff. I have to do it. Nonlinearity and oh yes, okay. There's a certain level of feedback. I'm trying to find out what it is, but it's like a right now I'm kind of calling it the Zen. I don't really want to call it the Zen, but sort of this like feedback, mindfulness, self-aware feedback loop, in which this is going to be kind of dense for a minute, and I might have to explain a couple of things. But we used to have a guy. I won't name him in the pod, but essentially we have a guy who in our group where basically the way he reacted to receiving joke like a white elephant style like gifts of like minions, like Despicable Me minions. He just didn't react. He reacted so super seriously to receiving like a joke gift. That we kept sending him more Minions plushies and Despicable Me 2 DVDs And like the whole idea, because it's like, it's funny to us that he's taking it so seriously. Or you're like, it's like being super competitive at a party game, like
bobbing for apples or some shit.
Like bobbing for apples, or even like a
beer pong
board,
or some
like
shit.
a board game, or even like Mario Party, or those the party games like Mario Kart, Mario Party. Like if you have a very super competitive element to it, and he to that extent, like, but this other guy. Essentially we kept giving him like stuff because that idea that if he just took it and said nothing, he probably would not have got anything.
Yeah.
Like that again. So there's like a sort of the idea, there's an ironic, like, self-fulfilling feedback loop of not wanting something so hard that you're just going to get it. It's similar to like the punish. So if I really, like, for example, the whole Punish Steve thing, it could probably come and go. I've been vocal. I've been slightly more verbal and honest. The fact that I'm not really a fan of the nickname Punish Steve.
Mm.
I don't really have a choice in the matter because you can't really give yourself a nickname unless you're Shaq or a basketball player.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the idea that someone, like, if I was really adamant that I got super butthurt over the fact that I did not like being called Punish Steve would stick harder.
Yeah, you would never hear the end of it, dude. Like,
yeah. I don't know how that works. I don't know if that's some sort of bro code or what. If you think that is dumb, respond to us on social media and like and reply and give us a bad review on podcast, on the Apple podcast and shit.
Yeah, anyway. Maybe save your bad review because we're just gonna go delete them like Greta Van Fleet does. I mean, we're learning from the best here.
So if they kept going out of the way to say we're not like Led Zeppelin, or we don't acknowledge the fact we sound like Led Zeppelin, part of that is their attitude towards it, because it's so, and maybe that's the whole idea. The more they continue to take themselves super seriously, the more I think it's funny. And I think that's my whole point. If ever comes a point in time where I end up meeting these people, I might have to ask them that question. I'll be nice. I'm not going to be like, I think you guys suck. I'm like, I'll be straight up and say, hey, I like, you guys confused the hell out of me. And I'm not sure your band needs to exist at all. And they go, well, does any? I'm like, well, yes and no. But like that whole idea, does anything need to exist? Like, if you want to get into nihilism, be my guest, but you just made my point. So
if they were like, okay, so what if they were like, just like dead ass, like, just like, oh yeah, dude, Led Zeppelin fucking sucks and we did this as a joke. Would you do this? Would you like them better? I would give them a big hug. Yeah.
But if they're like, no, I guess that's the problem. I think if they said, yeah, we're doing this as like, we're a gimmick, like this is a gimmick we're rolling with to make stuff we really want to make, I would be down with it. And I think, but every interview I watch, and and it's mostly like the videos are like, yeah, they're cheesy and like really cringy. If you're really, if you're not necessarily, if you already don't buy into them, it's like, obviously it's making it more cheesy, more cringy. But if they're like, wow, we don't see this anymore, and yeah, whatever. But like when you watch their interviews, and you watch, they're on like hard rock, classic rock radio. They're on like festival interviews. They're on like their Rolling Stone, Consequence of Sound, whatever you want to call it. Those, they just did another round of press for the promotion of this new record, and I haven't seen all of that stuff because that's kind of where I want to go into. Like, part of me doesn't, like, okay, I'm done, I can't handle this. But like the old stuff kind of said, we really like, they kind of had that attitude of, we don't like today's music. Today's music's awful. And we really like, it's not like the old, like it has that vibe that I used to have in middle school.
Yeah.
Where I thought rap is crap.
I mean, the
It's
problem
not
with that
like
ethos is it's like short-sighted because I mean, like
the Doors
pop
could
music of every age is terrible. Like it's always bad. Like
like
whatever, generally whatever appeals to the lowest common denominator is always just
there's
like the
fantastic
most
stuff if you
basic
could
shit.
find it. Yeah, there's fantastic music if you could find it. You just gotta find it.
Yeah,
And sometimes
yeah,
and we don't
totally.
have to agree on everything. Like I really like that, and I'm not saying like because like if you really like some people really do enjoy this, that's their prerogative, and that's really okay. I and maybe this is my nerd brain or whatever, just kind of like deconstructing what this is and how they're doing it or why they're doing it, and it just comes off, you know, or the super seriousness of it. I really have a hard time with people taking themselves this seriously in a because we're at a point right now where even on a cultural level, I use the word zeitgeist a lot. That like we have there's like a overbearingly like between like cancel culture wars and like 2010s political correctness wokeness 1619 project versus the 1620 project. You're wrong, slavery was not that bad, whatever. Like a lot of hostility and polarity and like post-truth concepts and there's a level of we gotta just have like there's not a lot of fun stuff going on right now.
Yeah, we're going through kind of like an insane. We're going through like a momentary lapse of reason.
There's certain movies that I've been really enjoying because they don't really have that shred of cynicism. Sometimes they have a romantically happy ending, but it doesn't feel forced or it feels earned. Like I think I could list Chef was one of them, the John Favreau one where he was like a food truck guy. Okay. But I rewatched Dolomite Is My Name.
Oh yeah.
And
have you seen any of the OG Dolomite movies?
Total. I mean, huge fan. I knew all the. I watched.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I watched mainly two. I watched Dolomite and Human Tornado.
I know those are
Human
awesome.
Tornado's like if you have to show them one, it's Human Tornado. But
bitch, are you for real? I never not
instant
think about
replay.
Human Tornado.
It's awesome. Anyway, but I love that movie because a couple things. One, it's like this guy is working his ass off just to be something. There's stuff he wants, there's aspirations. You know, he's gonna sell vinyl out of his truck. You know, his records out of his truck until someone and like the record label people are not. They're not like sort of malicious. They're like, we really want, like when they give him. You've seen the movie, right?
No, I want to the Dolomite one, right?
Oh, yeah.
I still haven't seen it, but I want to. I bought like the whole fucking when it was coming out. I bought like the whole like Rudy Ray Moore like box of DVD set because I was like, oh yeah. And I saw like Red Letter Media was like doing Petey Wheatstraw. Yeah. And I was like, all right, I gotta watch all these fucking movies.
Right. Okay, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but essentially, obviously, he needed like the record company to finance this movie.
Yeah.
And they went to see a movie, and they didn't like, and they go to like the Orpheum Theater in L.A. and they're like, they go to see a Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon comedy, and they don't get it. It's like this is not funny, you know. And it's just culturally speaking, it wasn't. It's not a movie for. It wasn't a movie for black audience. It was clearly a white movie. Like, yeah. and I love Jack Lemmon and I love Walter Matthau. Like, I love particularly Lemmon and Avanti and all that stuff. But like they were having, but it's like it's not funny. There's no titties and there's no kung fu.
Yeah.
And so they made a movie that's funny, has titties and kung fu.
Yeah, dude.
There you go. They went out to say the movie. He went out to make the movie he wanted to make. And there's like the sort of other people involved. Wesley Snipes playing D'Urville Martin. There's a couple scenes where it's like, you know, they bring in like a UCLA film school, crew to shoot the movie. So it's being shot by, kids. And of course, certain people didn't like, weren't sure if they were, they were white kids, but they want they're paid to make the movie, and certain people like in D'Urberville Martin's like he goes, do they know how to shoot black people? You know how they do? Like, he goes, wait, and like Rudy's like, that's man, that's some racist shit. Like, that's not racist. It's reality. It's the way skin absorbs light. And he goes,
Damn.
it's a cinematic like reality. It's like it's magicality. It was some really funny line. It's awesome. But anyway, like even like the guys who keep like the it's what I love is there's like these scenes with the record label guys. It's like the Bahari brothers. They're like these like I think they're Slovenian. Like record label. Of course, he's selling record labels. He's putting the devil stamp on it because he's trying to make it like marketable.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like you're not supposed to have it, right?
Yeah.
And there's a scene where they're like he wants a loan, so he's basically trying to get an advance against his royalties that he's from the record label these guys, and they really like him, and they really go okay, but they're totally upfront and straight. They're not going, yeah, sure, we're gonna make out with this. It's like, we own your stuff forever if this fails, so we're gonna give you 30,000, another 10,000, or 20,000, another $10,000, and it's like, it's no risk to us. We can do it, and we can, but we'll own everything. We really want, want to make sure.
Yeah.
That you're okay with this,
the disaster,
which is insanely like transparent for the 70s, And
I wonder how much of that actually happened, and how much of them were just like, okay, we can't like,
right.
Let's not play these guys too evil.
Right, but that's the thing about it, because these are the same guys who wrote Ed Wood, and Ed Wood has a similar kind of charm and optimism to it that was not reality. And so, but I do appreciate that little touch of that, because it could for me, that's sort of like, oh, that's a nice little touch, because everybody's rooting for Rudy. No one's like, the antagonist is like, the conflict is like, what, man versus the universe, or man versus the world. There's a level of support from the label, at least perceived support. But it wasn't like, I don't know. It's like,
it's still got it's still got it's still got the element of fun, and there's no fucking...
It's the idea that everybody's rooting for him, and there's like, they're making a movie, and I love movies about making movies. And so and that's like I said, it's a very uncynical movie, and I really enjoy it for that purpose. So that, going back to where we are in 2021 and the last 10 years of internetness, I suppose. It's a lot of internetness. And things like I really just like, I don't think maybe I'm wrong, but like, maybe we're not having a lot of fun here. And not saying that we don't need to challenge like problems that we're actually having, but man, like a little positivity, little positivity could do you some good, like a little fun, a little spirit. So like, when you have a band like Greta Van Fleet taking themselves so seriously, and like I said, I could be wrong, and it could be a sort of a flamboyant kind of homage joke. And that's why I asked, is this a joke? Because you guys are acting like this is some sort of high art theater, which it's not. It's just kind of like bad rock songs for the most part, give or take a melodic hook or two. It's just needs to, I don't know, man.
Well, there's a lot of money to be made in keeping us there's a lot of money to be made in keeping us like glued to our nostalgic favorites and under control and easily predictable. So this is part of the larger
this is me
this is part of like the larger, like, sort of headless conglomerate of of like stasis that's sort of that's always threatening humanity.
This is me declaring the brand of Lost Beat 6 to be whatever it is that we're not. Like
Yeah.
whatever that is, we're like not that. But yeah, it's so anyway.
Now it's time for the live unveiling. Have they deleted your comment yet?
Oh yeah.
Let's see it out live. Let's check it. Imagine if they did. This would be the fucking sickest podcast of all time.
I don't even know if they're awake at this point. I feel like they moved to LA and it's been 1 hour later. It's still up there.
Okay, well, for now,
I should make a point also.
They know we're talking about them. The AI.
Okay, out of 6,000 views, there's been 5,500 likes and 71 dislikes. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's not a lot, man. It's not a lot.
So, I mean, not a lot of people are actually like comment or liking or not liking it. They're just kind of probably kind of scrolled in their autoplay or something. But
yeah, how many comments are there? Like, what's like the like?
There's 600. There's 697. I think there's been 3 more since. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that sounds. I guess that sounds about right. I mean, you could always. It's pretty easy to just like pay bots for upvotes or whatever. Like you can just do that shit.
Yeah. There's also a possibility I was not sorting by most relevant or sorting by top comments. I was sorting by newest. I was sorting by top comments and not newest first. So
okay.
So I see a couple that are like things like God, I love Zeppelin. Yeah, that hits the spot. Things like. Holy fuck, what happened to that holy fuck, too much for a band that has 2 albums. Can't dig this at all. Wow, what happened to GVF? Over fucking produced. It's a shame. And what's with the clothes? Okay, so there's been a couple. No, someone else did that.
This is your alternate trolling account.
This is the time like to read some Hemingway.
Yeah, damn.
Which is funny for me. That always it's funny because that got me back on when we were talking about Burroughs and Kerouac, and I was thinking about that because I started rereading both actually.
Nice.
I have to listen. I think I told you I have to listen to Burroughs because
that's totally.
I have to get the tonality to it. And I've been doing all the cut-ups. I was trying to go for the cut-up trilogy because I'm kind of working on...
the cut-up trilogy is fucking nuts. Like, if you can stick through it, like, there's some really good shit in there.
I get too distracted by all the gay sex. It's very I'm very distracted by the gay sex going on.
Yeah, no, like, that's going to be, like... Dude, like, it's fucking rad. Like, there is... kind of like an arc to like the cut up trilogy. Like if you can like stick with it, like there is shit going on. Like I promise you.
I understand. There's the book, actually the audiobooks I have, they come actually those books, if you have an audible.com account, they are free. If you have the Plus account, if you pay for the Plus premium, whatever, they have a bunch of books that you don't actually have to buy. They have like a rotating library that you can
Oh shit!
So those are actually called. They have that included with the Audible Plus.
Well,
so
okay, cool.
It's actually kind of cool.
I should probably invest in that because like I have a million books that I just don't read, and I could just be listening to those when I could be listening to them when I'm just like fucking around playing video games. I need to plug in more. I need to learn how to like schizophrenically like ADD multitask.
of all the Amazonian imperial departments, that Audible is my favorite, and I don't mind like if we ever got that like advertising wing, I would totally like promote Audible because that's.
So for those of you who don't know what the fuck we're talking about, books are just like crystallized podcasts. And it's like you get them in these like volumes with like where they're made out of like paper glued together.
Not to add to our over pretentiousness of this beef session, but we should have a section because I know you and I were. I think you're obviously becoming a regular, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
There should be a "What are you reading?" and make it a book club or something like that.
Oh yeah, holy shit, yeah. I mean, talk about taking ourselves too seriously here. I think like like look at us talking about like these fuckers are taking themselves completely seriously, and we're like, how do we solve all cultural problems with our fucking podcast? Remember to have some perspective.
Yeah.
So I think I'll wrap this up by talking about my horrible kidney stones this week. I passed 2 fucking kidney stones, Steve.
Dude.
Like I had, like I was just like hanging out like last weekend, and like I swear to God I had the fucking testicular torsion. Because like I was just sitting there, and then all of a sudden I was just like, oh my God, and it's just like my back and my nuts were like on fire, and I was like, what the fuck? And apparently when kidney stones are coming down your ureters into your bladder, it just sucks dick and hurts a lot. Like once they actually got into my bladder, I think I was drinking enough water, they actually kind of dissolved. So I just had a couple of spicy peas and it was all over. But this is my public service announcement to don't eat a lot of salt and stay fucking hydrated.
Yeah.
Like I think actually I fucking oh my God. I think actually what the problem was I changed my diet extremely. I went from being a vegetarian and started eating like more protein and stuff.
Oh,
so, and I started like working out. So I'm like on.
Are you actually eating animal proteins or?
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm eating. Like,
oh my God!
Yeah, oh my God! I'm a real beefer. I broke my beef virginity. Yeah, we can actually beef it now.
Hell yeah! I can cook for you now.
Yeah, man. But yeah, I think it was my combination of just like tripling my protein intake.
Yeah,
and then also like working out and not drinking enough water, and that shit just turned into fucking rocks inside of me. So I don't know. I've got to drink some lemonade or something. But anyway, that's my growth. The all cum diet isn't working. Well, I mean, it's working, but it's just giving me stones. Anyway, Steve, what are you reading this week?
I'm reading. Well, I finished The Subterraneans.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing the bad thing. I'm like multitasking, and I'm like feeling. Yeah.
I'm reading like multiple books at once. Like I do that shit all the time. I don't finish any of them. I bought the new edition of Carradini's Influence. The book of Influence. Right. So I've already read that. I read like an audiobook of it, so I kind of have the premise. So I don't really. It's more for me for reference than anything else. And I'm like reading. I'm audiobook. I'm using Giacomo's Casanova's Story of My Life Volume 2 out of the 3-volume. Like it's a 40-hour. I sleep to that. I take that to go to sleep because I thought I was gonna get like raucous like sex stories. And it's very, very, very dry. Okay.
But what the book I am reading right now is I'm reading Stephanie Danler's Sweet Bitter.
Okay. What's that one? Give me the lowdown.
It's essentially like Kitchen Confidential in a narrative from a fictitious narrative view of a waitress.
Okay. All right.
So if you take the Bourdain, like Kitchen Confidential, the seedy underbelly of the culinary world, and you have all those different like elements of like, it's essentially a lot of stuff Bourdain talked about in his like Gonzo style, like nonfiction. She's putting it in a more creative fiction version of that in a little bit like 10 years later or 15 years later.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
So there's a lot of, it's sort of the sex, drugs, in haute cuisine of New York City, but like, it's sort of like there's a story. It's sort of like it's a little bit of a coming of age. It came out like 2016. So it's a book that I've had on the shelf and I'm like, oh, I need to finish that.
I just did the same thing. I've been reading, I just cracked open a bunch of Thomas Pynchon stuff.
Yeah.
I was just in the mood and I was like, I need to finish V, which is his first book. Which is very, very trippy. I highly recommend it. It's essentially about this. It's interesting because it's kind of about these bohemians in New York in kind of they're sort of like a post. They feel very like sort of like Beat Generation, like just like bohemian art bums,
Yeah.
basically. And it's about one of them. This dude's name's like Benny Profane, and he's just like a fucking loser fuck ass who's just like sort of hoboing around in New York, like looking for work. And it's just about his kind of it's about his sort of existential crisis of just being a bum post-war and like not really having anything to do. There's a lot of like millennial. I feel like there's a lot of like resonant stuff for like the millennial generation in this in V, just for that reason. And there's also, so the other character is this dude named Herbert Stencil, who's like on this sort of like insane quest to find this woman who his dad wrote about like during the war. And this woman is like, might be like this like reincarnating goddess figure who just shows up in like different time periods and is sort of implied to be like the muse of like Western civilization. And it's sort of about it's sort of about the degeneration of like Western civilization's muse as she sort of comes into contact with like the horrors of like World War I and like World War II. It's really weird. There's a lot of like proto-cyberpunk elements in this, because the woman that Stencil is looking for is sort of like progressively getting these like artificial limbs and stuff and like glass eyes and things like that. So it's about there's themes of like sort of humanities like embedding themselves in technological advancement and sort of becoming like less human and sort of like more, just more soulless. So it's really weird. It's written in like 63 or something like that. So it's got all these weird like pre-cyberpunk elements crammed into it. So it feels kind of science fiction-y. Really good. That took me to Crying of Lot 49, which is his next one, which is still really good. It's really good if you live in Southern California and you just want to like read a book about a woman freaking out about like uncovering it's just basically about a lady uncovering like a cult of maybe like a secret society of like anarchist mailmen that like may or may not exist. So that was really good. I'm on Gravity's Rainbow now, which is like the crazy one. Like that's like the big one. And that's really a task. I'm about 200 pages into that. But it's funny you were mentioning Burroughs, because like I swear to fucking God, there's like cut up sections in Gravity's Rainbow that like there's like weird like automatic writing segments, and then there's like stuff that I swear is like cut up stuff. And I think Gravity's Rainbow came out in like early 60s, so Naked Lunch would have been out by then. So I'm sure he probably fucking I'm sure Pension probably checked it out, because I know he's like extremely well read, and he also likes he's kind of like he's kind of like a B movie and like smut enthusiast. So I'm sure that like Naked Lunch would also have just like piqued his interest. I feel like Naked Lunch is like a proto Gravity's Rainbow, because it's got that same kind of aesthetic of just being like hilarious and then also like extremely pornographic. Yes. And and then also like super fucking like deep commentaries about like just like drug use and societal problems and like what it's like to just be like a horny gay dude in the 50s. So it's like all this they're very interconnected. So Naked Lunch and Gravity's Rainbow is a hell of a double feature. But anyway, that's what I've been reading. I've been freaking myself the fuck out.
Nice. Well, I got to wrap it up because I'm getting phone calls left and right from people I got to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I got to go piss out some more stones.
Yeah, man. Enjoy that. Sorry to hear that.
I guess we'll see. Keep us updated on how Greta
I'll let you know.
So was this a positive review for Battle of Gardens Gate? Should we buy it? Should we buy it? It's only $9.99. It's available now on iTunes for only $10, Steve. Are you sure you don't want to buy it? It's a great album. It's the greatest album of the year, Steve. Are you sure you don't want to buy it? Everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it, Steve. I did it.